Hello everyone, it's Elrond here, and for today's video on Umamusume, we talk about the upcoming Uma as well as the support card banner that'll be dropping here in the next day. Now this one will be paired alongside the Halloween event, so it will be coming with 2 SSR support cards as well as 2 Umas. And so with the support card, we're going to be getting Mejiro Palmer SSR Stamina and Daitaku Helios Speed. And for the Uma side, we're going to be getting the Agnes Digital and Meisho Doto Halloween alts. And so first we're going to take a look at the support cards, and then we'll take a look at the Umas and whether or not you might want to pull on these banners. And so for the very first one we're going to take a look at here is the Daitaku Helios. Now this is a support card I was really liking as a potential for a borrow, but with independent training this has kind of changed a little bit. Now looking at Daitaku Helios, she is a overall pretty decent stat stick here. We have not really the unique, not all that crazy, getting initial stat up 10, where you get stats based on the support cards you have in your current deck. Nothing too crazy there. Decent friendship bonus at 30%. Originally, when I thought we were going to have to do parent runs and track blazer still at this point, I really liked that she had 10% race bonus, but not really important anymore alongside the fan bonus, but does have hint levels 3 and hint frequency at 50%. A decent starting friendship gauge at 25, which if you MLB it, now a little bit lower at lower levels, but it does go all the way to 25. Special priority 50, not as high as I'd like for a speed card, but it is there. You do have skill point bonus, very, very important on your speed card, so if you do whale out for this card, you at least get that, which is very important overall in Grand Live. And then have speed bonus to help you get that speed cap all the way up to 1600. Now, when you look at this card, it is kind of a pretty decent overall mild card, but also can be utilized not just for your frontrunners, as Daitaku Helios is primarily a frontrunner and has frontrunner stuff in her kit. She does have Tail Held High and then the gold version of Slipstream, which would be the main reason you would actually want to use this card. Parent making is to try and get Slipstream built into your parents. You also have some other decent little skills in here. Mile Corners being one that's a little bit tricky right now, especially if you're trying to build like that Christmas Ogre Cap end closer. Not many cards, unless you have it built in your parents, to really get access to it in the preferable deck. But you could theoretically use this one, although I really wouldn't use it as your main way to get any of these things. You do have it in there, as well as another one that might be decent to try and get built into parents, Mad Dash. Now, it is a stamina drain skill, but has a pretty large speed increase on it for the white. And there's really not many places that you really get access to it here. The last time we've seen it was the gold version on Twin Turbo, which has giving it 1000%. This is the white version on it. But overall, pretty decent card. I really like that it has gold Slipstream on it. So I could see this actually being used for more of your backliners, just because you have Tail Held High, although it's a gamble to get Tail Held High, and then going right into gold Slipstream at the end, and it is guaranteed. There is no gamble here. The only negative is if you're wanting to kind of look at building a backliner, especially a late surger. There's actually better speed card coming up soon in the form of the Asian Flash speed card. That's a decent a little bit ways away here, but Asian Flash Speed is an overall better stat stick, and is late surger focused, while this one's kind of more of a general, works for front runners, can work on backliners. And since you're no longer really manually doing parent runs, unless you just enjoy doing that, you're probably using the independent training, which doesn't finish the golds very often, and even only gets to the second chain about 30% of the time, and then you also have a gamble here. I really wouldn't consider this one all that good for that as well, although it can still work pretty well in independent training just as a stat stick because of the skill point bonus, but by no means the worth it for you to pull specifically for this card. Now, on the other side, we do have Mejiro Palmer Stamina that's paired alongside her, which is, before you're looking at the stats, one of the big things with her is your access to taking the lead outside of that Mihono Bourbon Wit card. And so finally, you would be able to ditch the Mihono Bourbon Wit, and as well as when we eventually get the new Mihono Bourbon Wit, which has gold groundwork, this will be your only real way to get access to taking the lead for a little while on your Umas. Although with gold groundwork, not as relevant anymore. An early lead is plenty enough at that point. And her being a stamina card, really only going to probably be, if you really want to go hard on this card, used on your mediums or your longs, or potentially maybe, yeah, really, I can't see anything below that. Specifically just trying to get taking the lead. But it has an overall pretty good stat stick on it. You gain training effectiveness that scales with your current energy from 5% at 0 energy to 20% and 100 plus energy. So she does want you to have max energy when you basically hit on her thing. Not really the greatest overall. We've seen the opposite of that, where you get stronger the lower your energy is, which worked kind of in Trackblazer when you were kind of being able to use items to guarantee the hits. This one, not so much, but does have a decent friendship bonus at 35% initial stamina. Really nice special priority. Absolutely hate the friendship gauge. This basically, to me, makes this card absolutely terrible for Grand Live. You probably already feel this if you're using like Fine Motion and all that. You don't want all of your support cards having really low friendship, and we already seen like Super Creek, which will be coming up in the future here. Not only does she has a heal, which is, if you're using a stamina card, you're probably using it because you also want to heal, but she actually starts, well, if you have her MLB, much higher on the friendship gauge, making her a lot more comfy to use, especially when it comes to Grand Live and trying to get rainbows to get more of the tokens. So she's kind of abysmal in that aspect. She does have the skill point bonus, which is very important. Initial guts, not all that big of a deal. But everything kind of in here is realistically just to get front runner corners you have, and then taking the lead. It is guaranteed at the end. She does have groundwork built in. She has a bunch of other good stuff, playtime's over, which not as relevant right now because of Light Hello, but will be more relevant in Grandmasters. Early lead, final push, front runner savvy, when you no longer have Light Hello to hand that out to you. So not a terrible card, but definitely not one that I would kind of want to pull for. And these kind of are both in that same scenario of maybe potential borrows in the future, but there's just all kinds of better options for them to borrow. I mean, Mejiro Palmer, if you're needing a stamina card, Super Creek is going to be dropping her rerun soon enough, and she'll be paired alongside Mr. CB Wit, another good SSR if you don't already have it for your end closers. And thus, to me, unless you're a big whale, this is a very easy skip banner. There's a lot more better things to pull on. And once taking the lead no longer is relevant, or once gets replaced with the new Mihono Bourbon Wit card in Grandmasters, taking the lead won't be as important. It'd still be valuable to try and get yourself into the lead, but by no means a must-have when you already have gold groundwork paired with early lead. And so, not all that big of a deal here. Now, when it comes to the Umas here, we'll take a look first one here at Meisho Doto Halloween. So she has 15% power, 15% wit bonus. Love me the power bonus. You're probably already feeling it on this mile if you're doing any Uma that has speed bonus and not power bonus, and you're doing like a 3 speed. I've already kind of felt that with my Silent Suzuka run, and you're having a terrible time getting high power. Always love to see power bonuses. The higher, the better. Camping Taiki Shuttle, love that 30%. Made it so easy to max speed, max power, and get good wit. Your typical aptitudes with Dodo, Dirt E, Turf A, Mile F, Medium A, Long A, Pace A. You can pretty much make her work anywhere. Other than, of course, the Dirt Miles, which would be a pain in the ass to build her for. But you could make her work on the Dirt Mediums. You can, of course, make her Turf Mile very easily. Now, when it comes to her unique skill, this one I'm not really a big fan of, especially if you compare it to the OG Dodo. Increases the velocity and very slightly intimidate 2 runners ahead and 2 runners behind when positioned towards the front upon entering the final straight. And so it's just your 0.35. We're now starting to see a lot more Umas have those 0.45 speed increases. Now, it is a 5-second on there, so pretty decent there. But when it comes to the debuff it mentions, I mean, it's just 0.05 is basically nothing. It's not really changing much. If you're going to want to go in with debuffs, you build a dedicated debuffer. And then when you take a look at the inherit, it's even worse. So it's definitely one. Now, you could say, well, better than nothing, try and get this on your debuffers. But by no means a must-have in any capacity at all. Now, when it comes down to her skills, this is maybe where she has a little bit of redemption on overall what she has here. She does have Neck and Neck built in and Swinging Maestro, although Neck and Neck not as good on your mediums, which is what she's kind of focused for in that respect. And when you kind of look that she has medium straightaways. But, I mean, it not going to hurt to take it as one potential acceleration option. Then she has right-handed built in, which is always nice. And then, of course, she has her normal skills that she has built in down here. When you look at the evolutions, when she eventually gets them, she has the Neck and Neck one. Um, that does give a little bit of a stamina recovery to it here. Or I believe this adds a speed increase to after the fact. So you get your acceleration and then down on the last straight, a speed increase, making it even better. Now you get your acceleration plus later some speed. And then the heal does get a little bit of a speed increase attached to the Swinging Maestro as well. But by no means nothing crazy here. I personally, when it comes to Doto, I prefer the OG one over this one. And I believe if you actually want to get Doto, because she's an Oshi or something, now you would have to wait a little bit, but on the 2nd anniversary, I believe, yeah, 2nd anniversary, so coming with Grandmasters, you'll be able to farm for the OG one, which is kind of my plan once we get to that point, is to get myself a copy of the OG Doto, since I pretty much have all the other good ones there. So if you really want her and you can wait for her as an Oshi, there's the best time to get it. Now we have Agnes Digital, which she's actually currently farmable right now in the Legend Daily Races. So with her stat bonuses, she's got an even split amongst everything pretty much except wit. I mean, having power bonus is always nice, but it is pretty small across the board. It's your typical Doto, can do turf and dirt. You can pretty much make her work anywhere. Might take a little bit more work, per se, to make her work on long, but you can. Just because distance sparks are like the best thing to take anyway. And then when it comes to her unique, it's simp hard and increase the velocity when positioned in the mid pack or further back on a mid-race corner, and there are at least 3 beautiful Radiant Umamusume nearby. I mean, these attacks are kind of crazy on these. It's a 0.35 speed increase for 5 seconds. When she's near, see, I don't like the condition of being near other Umas. Although when late surgers do get popular, which to me, I believe she's more of a late surger in this one. You're gonna see a lot more of them. But then again, there's a lot better options in that capacity. But it is a 0.35 for 5 seconds. Now, when it comes to her actual skills, she does have its on, which is nice. She has Uma Stand built in. Not Super Stand like the OG one, though. So if you're wanting to farm those Uma Stand sparks, the OG one, to me, is just all around better because the Super Stand increasing the odds of getting it. Oh, she does. If your builder's an ace, you do have that built in. You have its on for Dirt's forward march. And then you have a speed increase Dirt one here. So more targeted towards Dirt's, which, as you already know, Dirt is Kopano Ricky's playground. The next Dirt is going to be dominated by Kopano Ricky unless you make her your Oshi. And of course, we've seen plenty of times where she was winning the CM. So don't let that Kopano Ricky is super strong prevent you from wanting to get her for it. I mean, it's your typical stuff down here from her skills from events. She can get a lot of stuff. Nicest things, like you have access to most stuff you're going to want that might be a little bit harder to get. And then on the evolutions to her skills for It's On, yeah, this one just makes it have a little bit of a stamina recovery. And then the second variation of it, I think, makes it last longer. Yes, makes it last 4 seconds. And then on the Dirt one, I believe that one's just adding stamina recovery to it as well. To me, not as useful. I don't really like the small stamina recoveries that get added to these. It's generally not a big enough of a difference maker. Although there have been cases where just 1 white was all you needed, and it being built in a skill might make it work. But it's definitely not anything crazy. And in my opinion, this is another situation where I prefer the OG one over the Halloween one here. And luckily, she's currently available right now to farm in the Legend Races. So if you've been playing since the Legend Races, you can start farming her. It should take about 2.5 months. If you haven't been playing since then, it's going to be a little bit more at 4 months. But I would just farm her out. To me, better overall as a parent, having Super Stand built in. To me, like, overall, a good ace. Just as good as this one is an ace. And you can continue to save your carrots at this point. Because pretty much all of these, to me, are very easy skips. You have a lot better options overall. When it comes to like a turf dirt Uma, if that's one of the things you care about, one, you can farm the current one. But if you really want to pulver one, I would actually pulver Inari 1 Festival over her. Now, I prefer the OG Inari 1 over this one in terms of being able to do like mediums and stuff and dirts. But you do have this one as well. I find Inari 1 will also be a lot better on parent making outside of getting Super Stand, for the simple fact she doesn't have as many things she's A in on the strategy side of things. And then, like I said, with the Daitaku Helios, you have the better card of, if you're backliners, to me, Asian Flash, and you no longer really need it for a parent card. You have Mejiro Palmer, but you have Super Creek coming up, which is going to be the overall better stamina card anyway, because it has the heal built in. And it is paired with a pretty good end closer wit card. And so this is just an easy skip banner. We have Aston Machan for all I know she's a big Oshi, but she's also a very good front runner for sprints. That'll be coming out here next. We have the Fine Motion Maruzensky rerun here. Who knows if they're going to do reruns of Seeking the Pearl and all that. I mean, they're currently available. You have Simply Chris S stamina for your backliners. If that one's even better to me than Mejiro Palmer, because that one has the long acceleration for your backliners. So, way too many other niche, strong things that come up if you want to wail on them, unless you're just like a Leviathan and pull in everything. That makes these very easy skips. But yeah, that's kind of just my thoughts on it. I know I originally liked to talk up Daitaku Helios speed a lot. Independent training has really shifted my focus on what I'm pulling for, as how you get your skill hints is much different on that versus manually doing parent runs, which I pretty much don't do anymore. I could see myself doing them maybe in the future at some point, where Daitaku Helios could be a really good borrow. Do like a Unity Cup run to get It's On, no stopping me. Daitaku Helios gets you Slipstream. Light Hello gets you Playtime's Over, or whatever, the gold version of it. And you can really get that solid Uma that has like the entire tail held high combo on them. But that's still a lot of unnecessary work now with independent training, especially if you're like me and you're just constantly running it all day, every day. Eventually I'll get a hit, even if you're only using the whites or getting them off inspiration, versus having a dedicated support card that really isn't going to work as well, because it doesn't finish the chains. And then, like I said, taking the lead, Mihono Bourbon Wit works good enough for now. And then when we get the gotcha Mihono Bourbon Wit, and you only have to you can only get early lead, that's completely fine, because Gold Groundwork covers most of the acceleration you need, and then early lead will be good enough to pair alongside it. But that's my thoughts on these upcoming support cards, as well as the Umas. I will be talking a little bit more about the event stuff and that support card and all that here probably tomorrow morning. But if you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.